Hi friends, it's Mrs. Johnson, and it's been a while, but we are getting back into Ada, and hopefully we can finish it up by week's end, if not the beginning of next week. But I will be reading chapters 11 and 12 for you today. With chapter 11, we have our intro picture on the left side of our page, and it has a snake at the top, which is labeled snake, and then it has the question, are snakes ticklish, with a question mark, a bubble question mark. Then we see a picture of a person with a mustache, so I'm going to assume that is a fellow. And then we see a snake kind of wrapped around his head with his tongue sticking out. And it's labeled Rosie's Uncle Fred. Uncle Fred likes snakes very much! Exclamation point. And then also the statement, snakes like Uncle Fred very much. Also exclamation point at the end. So these are both exclamatory sentences. And then at the bottom of that page, we have another snake with his tongue sticking out. They must really like Uncle Fred. So we are going to get into chapter 11. Uncle Fred hit the gas. They zoomed after the fire truck, which turned another corner and stopped behind the old Jeep factory. Bee and Bo from Blue River Creek's volunteer fire department jumped out of the fire truck. Rosie, Ada, Iggy, and Uncle Fred tumbled out of the bus. It was the factory where Rosie's neighbor, Mrs. Lou, built Jeeps during World War II. The factory had been closed for years, and most of the building was gone. Only 3 tall walls were left standing. They made a courtyard shaped like the letter U. The ground at the center was a small, empty parking lot covered with black asphalt. The blazing sun beat down on the hot, oily surface, and the smell of tar filled the air. It was a stinky, thick smell that Ada did not like. Uncle Ned was trapped in an air current that slowly whirled around inside the U-shaped area. The whirlwind picked up bits of dust and small leaves and lazily whirled them around and around high in the air with Uncle Ned. "It's like a river," said Iggy, "where the water gets stuck by rocks and swirls around and around." "I think they call that an eddy," said Rosie. But how long can the whirlwind stay that way?" Bee and Bo stretched out the fire truck's ladder. Rosie knew Bee and Bo because they were also the recyclers in Blue River Creek. They often left her boxes of recycled materials for her inventions. And in the picture, we see Uncle Ned is in the air with the big Perilous pants that are almost looking like balloons. He's also wrapped up in the rope that Uncle Fred is supposed to be holding. It's wrapped all around him, as well as leaves that are swirling all around him. And then you see Iggy, Rosie, and Ada looking up, trying to figure out how they're going to get him down. Ada seems to be thinking. Rosie has her hands on her face, looking, shocked. And Iggy's just kind of in amazement, like he has his mouth open, like he just can't believe what's going on. On the next page, we see some type of child. We don't know who that child is exactly, kind of waving over to Bee and Bo. Bee is an older woman with short hair, with a bang that's kind of to the side. She has glasses on. She has wrinkles on her face a little bit, and she has these hoop earrings with a special vest on so that the light can reflect off of it and she can stay safe. Bo has the same type of vest on. He's taller. He has like this blue hair at the tips. It's sticking straight up. He's using some type of gel to make his hair stick upwards instead of that gravity pulling down on it. He has a black shirt. He has like tattoos on his arm. He looks pretty strong, but also friendly too. His face is smiling over at the little boy who's waving. And then if you look closely, Beside him, there are two children that are looking up. One child is looking up. I'm not sure who that child is, but the other person beside him, she has long hair. She has this dress on that has circles, a dark dress that has white circles on it, and three barrettes in her hair to keep it off of her face. That's Sophia Valdez, which we will be talking about next week. All right. So, hi, Rosie. Hi, Ada. Hi, Iggy, they called. Uncle Ned was trapped in the whirlwind near the top of the wall. He was too far from the wall to grab the bricks, and he was too far up to be reached by the ladder. Hi, Ned, yelled Bee. Give us a minute and we'll get you down. Any time now, Bee, said Uncle Ned as he whirled around and around. I'm getting dizzy, izzy. Woo, ooh, ooh. Bo climbed to the top of the fire ladder and reached for the rope hanging from Uncle Ned's perilous pants. It dangled just out of Bo's grasp. Our ladder is too short, yelled Bee. Excuse me, that wasn't Bee, that was Bo. So let me say that in kind of a more male voice. Our ladder is too short, yelled Bo. Can you float lower? No, whoa, cried Ned. I'm stuck. Bee stretched out the thick white fire hose. I'll squirt you down with the hose, she yelled. No, said Rosie. If he breaks out of this eddy, he'll get pulled into a crosswind and float away. Ada looked carefully at the walls. The whirlwind kept Uncle Ned swirling in one spot. Iggy was right. It was like an eddy in a river. But Rosie was also right. If anything changed, Uncle Ned could fly away again. A squirt with the hose could be a disaster. Word spread throughout Blue River Creek about Uncle Ned's perilous pants. Soon a crowd gathered and watched. They cheered for the firefighters and the questionnaires and tried to keep Ned calm by singing songs and telling him jokes. The jokes were a bad idea. Every time he started to laugh, his pants jiggled and he wobbled in the whirlwind. One big laugh might send him flying. Now that's a picture, said Barb Ross from the Happy Sapling art store. She pulled out a sketch pad and started to draw. Does he have a permit for that? Asked the mayor. What if we train an eagle to pop those perilous pants? Someone asked Uncle Fred. The crowd liked that idea and clapped. Unfortunately, the eagle was still at the zoo. Meanwhile, 3 monkeys, 4 lemurs, and an ostrich ran in and out of the growing crowd while Uncle Fred tried to catch them. A reporter from the Blue River Reader interviewed Uncle Ned and snapped some photos for the evening edition. It was very exciting, but as everyone focused on Ned and his perilous pants, Ada twisted to the side, tapping her chin. She was thinking. Her mind was swirling with questions. Uncle Ned floated at exactly that height because of all the forces pulling him down and pushing him up. Could they change the forces to make Uncle Ned float lower so the firefighters could grab him? Could they weigh Uncle Ned down? Could the monkeys help? Could they really train an eagle to pop the pants? Would that make Uncle Ned zoom through the sky like a balloon losing its air? What if Uncle Ned hit something? Would he bounce? The sun beat down on Ada, and the stink of the asphalt rose up from the parking lot. It was a toe-curling, stinky smell that made Ada feel a little woozy. She shook her head and tried to think. She tapped her chin again and scribbled notes. The hum of the crowd faded. There were so many questions to answer, so much to figure out. To Ada, the whole world felt like a big cartoon bubble filled with question marks. She flipped through her notebook and looked at the pictures she had drawn for Rosie. All the forces working on Uncle Ned's perilous pants kept him in one spot. If any of the forces changed, Uncle Ned would move. The trick was making him move in the right direction. Just like adding cargo to a ship changes how high it floats in the water, maybe they could change the way Uncle Ned's pants floated in the air? How could they add cargo to his pants, and what would that cargo be? How could they get anything to Uncle Ned when they couldn't reach him? Suddenly, Ada had an idea. She popped out of her thought bubble and looked around. Rosie and Iggy were smiling at her. "You have an idea," said Rosie, who knew that look on Ada's face. "How do we help?" asked Iggy. Ada scribbled some notes and showed them to her friends. Iggy and Rosie nodded. Rosie ran to Uncle Fred and whispered something in his ear. He nodded too. "We'll keep track of Uncle Ned in case he flies off again," said Iggy and Rosie. Ada stuck her pencil behind her ear. She stuck her notebook in her pocket. "Don't worry, Uncle Ned," she yelled. "We'll get you down." "Can you make it soon?" he yelled back. "I think that crow is coming back." Rosie pointed to a distant dark cloud on the horizon. "That's not all that's on its way," she said in a worried voice. "I don't think we have a lot of time before the wind changes. Hurry!" Ada nodded. She jumped into the zoo bus, and once more Uncle Fred hit the gas. They were off. So then at the bottom we see a picture of Ada Twist. She's writing in her notebook. Iggy is looking at her writing notes, kind of like thinking about it. Rosie is looking at her notes, and you can tell that she's really interested in them. And then they even have an ostrich looking at the notes, who's also looking interested. Such a silly book. We're on chapter 12 now. Don't take author's stuff. Remember not to forget. Chapter 12. Ada scrambled up to the stairs to Arthur's room. A moment later, she ran down with her brother's tennis racket and a large bag of tennis balls. Mrs. Twist stopped her by the front door. "Ada," she said, "are those Arthur's?" "It's an emergency," said Ada. Ada's mother looked at her. "Ada," she said calmly, "we've had this talk. You can't use your brother's things without his permission. If you need a racket, use your own. Where is it?" "Well," said Ada. "That's not a good answer," said her mother, "and you know it." Ada did know it. What she didn't know was where she had left her own racket. There were lots of possibilities. We talked about possibilities in economic choice, too. But there was no time to figure it out. "Mom," Ada said, "I need to go now. This is really important." Mrs. Twist crossed her arms. "So is this," she said. "But," said Ada, "the wind might change and the whirlwind could collapse. And these tennis balls, they can add enough mass to the pants to offset the pants' buoyancy, so the force is balanced at a lower height. Can't you see?" "What?" asked Mrs. Twist. She did not look happy. Ada did not feel happy. Why didn't her mother just understand what she was saying? She didn't have time to draw a picture. Maybe if she said it faster and louder. Ada blurted out her ideas as fast and loud as she could, but her words jumbled and bumbled and fumbled. Some of them got left out altogether. Air pressure, Jeep, buoyant force, monkeys, gravity. Ada said as fast as she could, tennis balls, leaping lemurs. Ada Marie! Ada stopped talking. Her mother was frustrated and frazzled. She was mad. And time was running out. "Mom," said Ada, "the downward forces have to be greater than the buoyant force or the pants will never sink in." "Ada," Mrs. Twist cut her off, "what did I tell you?" Ada's parents were always telling her things, so Ada kept a list in her notebook. She flipped it open. "The bathroom is not a science lab." she said. Not that, said her mother. The pantry is not an ant farm? Said Ada. What?